In the spotlight tonight, the hunt for a child killer who could still be on the loose near Detroit. Authorities are desperate to find the monster who murdered 5-year-old Nevaeh Buchanan and who could still be out there. Cracking the case could hinge on results from the autopsy and toxicology reports, which authorities are still waiting for. Nevaeh's remains were found earlier this month in a shallow grave covered with quick-dry cement. The grisly discovery was made by a man out on a fishing trip. According to a published report, he also spotted remnants of a fire and a partially burned surgical glove. There are also reports of a beer can and cigarette butt left at that scene, but seemingly no other leads. So when will those two crucial reports come out, and what will they reveal? Let's get some answers right now from Dave Murray, Special Assignments Editor of the Toledo Blade, who joins me by phone. Welcome, Dave. You know, we heard that Nevaeh's case was moved to the top of the list at the crime lab, so what's taking so long here?
You know, Vinny, I think we're in a phase we like to call the rumor phase. Cops are not saying anything right now, but we've been hearing, last week we were hearing rumors that they were on the verge of making an arrest. This week we're hearing, this week we're hearing from people close to the investigation that they are no farther along than they were the day she was kidnapped. I really don't believe the police have a clue as to who did this. We know they are out interviewing sex offenders. There are 117 registered sex offenders living in the city of Monroe where Nevaeh lived. It's hard to believe there's that many, but they're so.
I had a question. Out there, the sex offenders, do they have to provide DNA samples? Do we know if those things are on record? If they have an access, if they were able to get any DNA from this scene, that they'd be able to attempt to match it up?
I don't know that. I believe that when you're when convicted of a felony in Michigan, you do have to provide a DNA sample, so I would not be surprised with that. I think one of the reasons we do not have a report from the medical examiner was because of we've been told the decomposition was so bad of the remains. I mean, this little girl could have been, in this concrete grave, I guess we'll call it, for over 10 days. It's hot, it's humid, it's at the side of a river. You know, I don't know if it's possible to find DNA samples other than of her in there. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and the community is very scared and upset that this man or woman, probably a guy, is still out there.
Yeah. Now, you bring up the fact of DNA, and what intrigues me in this case is that you've got this remnants of a fire that the fisherman reported about. You've got perhaps a beer can, a cigarette butt. That is a place where perhaps you could pick up some DNA. Also, a partially burned surgical glove. Isn't that right?
I think this really shows premeditation on whoever did this. We're jumping to some conclusions, but there was a fire, remnants of a fire right nearby, and the authorities found a partially burnt latex glove. That's not something you take fishing with you. So we know investigators are looking at the fact that this was very methodical, that her body was brought there, was handled, there was a grave dug, she was placed in it, they poured the concrete over, and then they had a fire, and they burnt the gloves and had a couple beers. It's a bit wacky, but also very premeditated and kind of scary to think that somebody's out there that could have done this.
Yeah, what's scary, in addition to the premeditation, if they're trying to burn evidence afterwards, that shows what they're trying to do is cover things up. Unbelievable story. Well, you're going to continue to follow all those rumors, and we thank you so much tonight, Dave.
Sure.
All right, an amazing conclusion to the Haley Donovan mystery.